Hi, this is Hans from Request for Music, back again with XINGSHI, and now we're going to look at creating a moving wave with XINGSHI. We need at least 2 frames for that, so I went back to the standard version by just clicking the clear button on there, and I'm going to add a second frame in there, and you see that it's running through those, and they're both running at the same speed. If I just click through these, you see that they're both at 1/4 of a note, and that speed is taken from the tempo from the DAW. It's at VM is at 120 beats per minute at the moment. So if I want to change this, then most of the time I want to change settings for all of those frames together, so and I can actually use my edit nth. I am at my first frame. That means that it's going to change the settings for frames from the first frame. If I would do it, set this to the second frame, then switch it on, it will change it from the second frame and so on. I only have 2 frames and I want to edit both, so I'll set it at 1 and set edit nth on, and I'll look at this knob here and the setting there. It's changing every single frame now, and you can actually see that if you go over the dial knob, it says edit frame 1, 2, 3, etc. If I dial it up, it will say edit frames 2, 1, 3, 5, etc. So it gives you an idea of what you would be editing. So I have to set it at 1 so I can change everything. And in this case, I want to dial this up, and I can actually do that in a couple of things. Or a couple of ways. I could indeed dial this up, or I could double click this and set any value. So if I wanted to have half notes or something like that, I could just enter 1/2, and it would do that on both. If I wanted to have 1 bar for each, I would just press 1, and it will do that on both. I can see that if I switch edit nth on, because if I switch edit nth, if I leave it switched on and I would step to the next frame, it would actually copy the settings of that frame to the next one. So I want to switch that off before going into the next frame. So they're both on 1 bar, and since I want a moving sound, so to speak, I actually want to be able to morph between those frames. So going back to the first frame, switch edit nth on, switch morph on, and now it will change from the settings of the first frame into this next one. So that means that if I would now leave this edit nth on, so I would only be editing the first one, I could dial my mod up, and it's now going to change with a time of 1 bar per frame from the first to the next one. So if I dial this up anymore, it's going to change that. And obviously that means that if I would set this lower, for instance, and I would go into my second frame and set that higher, it's going to go from that lower value to that higher value. Then the switch here on the top is important as well. It says now it says CNT and RST next to it. Means that the first side, or the left side, is the continuous side, and the other side is the reset side. So it means that if I now want to play anything, it's actually going. Let's dial the time back a bit. So let's just go for something shorter. So you hear that it's indeed changing. And it's actually changing between those 2 sounds all the time. So let's dial this up a bit more so you can hear it a bit better. So this and now it's running in a constant loop, so continuous. So let's switch it to the RST side, and then it's starting each time that I'm going to go through, or it's starting at the first frame and then going back. So most of the time, if you want to use it as a continuous moving wave, I would actually add that or switch that to the continuous side. Now if I add a next frame or a next 2 frames or something like that, and I would change the speeds of the overall thing, so I can go through those 4 frames now, and you see that first setting was changed, the second frame was changed, and the third and the fourth are not. So at least I have to switch my morphing on there if I want to keep that same effect. But now it's going to go from the second frame. It's actually staying at a shorter speed there, and so if I dial my third one up and my fourth, you could do something like that. And even if I was to go into my fourth frame and there dial up my modulation for my noise, and you hear that it's actually going in there with that sound as well. And if I switch my noise on for that one, and to get a better effect for that, I would actually want to go into maybe edit all, and for all switch that more for my noise on. So it's actually using that morphing way to go through those frames a bit better. So at least you hear that using a morphing sound, I can actually now dial the mod back for everything, because if I have it switched on for my edit end, I've got everything selected. I'm going to my first frame. I can actually dial the modulation back, switch this off, and it will do that in every frame, as you can see. Yeah, so and again, if you want more frames, just dial those in. So if I wanted to have a fifth one, which is far longer, so I'll go into my fifth frame, switch that, maybe just double click that, make it 3 bars or something like that, dial my modulation up quite a bit, and let's hear what it does. This was already the 5th frame where I was at. Now I'm going to the first frame. I didn't have the morph on yet. So that's what you get when you use at least 2 frames and get as many as you want in there, and dial in all of those values for modulation and time the length of that specific frame. So that's it for now, and I'll get back in a new one. Cheers, bye bye.